Today I'm doing a review on the Kuat NV 2.0 platform style hitch rack for bicycle transportation. I purchased this bike rack because I needed something to haul my 60-pound fat tire bicycle. Unfortunately, I didn't find too many reviews online about this rack, so I thought I would do a quick review and point out some of the pros and cons of this rack. And what a gorgeous rack this really is. Between the rubber on the anchor arm up here on the front, to the paint job, the simplicity of it all, it's really great. The whole click motion of the pivot arm, very solid. Hopefully I won't have to replace that anytime soon. Love the orange look to it. It is just definitely a fantastic looking rack. Straps we'll get to the straps later. I'm not too happy with the straps, but it would be nice if the straps did have an anchor point, so when you're loading the bikes up, you had somewhere to kind of keep the straps out of the way so you can load on your bikes and not put your back tire on the strap and just make it more difficult. And the rear strap assembly does slide very smoothly. That's very nice. And the built-in locks. This is probably one of my most favorite features. This is just one less thing that you have to deal with and worry about. It's held in there magnetically, and it looks really sharp, and it's just the perfect length that you need. But overall, this rack, beautiful paint job. Actually, it's very convenient. It matches the color of my SUV. But it's just a great looking rack. As you can see down here, the bolts, the nuts and bolts that keep this thing together, stainless steel. I don't think they're going to rust anytime soon. Definitely keeps the whole system in place and check. It doesn't wobble. Nothing feels loose. I mean, just everything has got a really nice tight feeling to it. And lifting it up into the storage position, I mean, this thing just looks great. I could definitely see myself carrying this on the back of my SUV on the days that I don't take my bike anywhere, just because it looks good and it's one less task that I have to deal with. Doesn't stick out too far. Paint color matches. I mean, I really have no complaints. The logo on here, it's very subtle. Just overall fantastic quality. And I'd hope it would be for $600+ because, you know, that's a lot of money to drop on a rack, but it definitely is beautiful. And the orange accents, the orange aluminum accents, it definitely sets it off really nice. And that is definitely a nice feature. It makes it look a lot more luxurious compared to some of the other models out there. Installing the hitch rack is pretty straightforward, simple to do. The rack comes in at right around 40 pounds. Very manageable when it's in its stowed away position to install onto your vehicle. Of course, the only downside is trying to reach through the rack itself to put your hitch pin in. A beautiful feature I love about this rack is the built-in anti-sway mechanism they have inside the rack. This thing, you give it a couple turns, it raises a little ball assembly that's at the end of the rack here, and it takes out all the wobbles of the rack. Makes it really nice and sturdy, and basically becomes part of the vehicle. And here's a close-up shot of the anti-sway mechanism that they have built into this rack. It's just simply a little ball, gets pressure on it, takes away the gap. You turn this handle or this dial on the back end clockwise to tighten, counterclockwise to loosen, and this mechanism on the inside of the hitch, it raises that ball up. Like I said, takes away the gap. No need to worry about any aftermarket anti-sway bolts. It's just all built in, super easy, super convenient. Probably one of my favorite features about this. And of course, once you get the rack installed, it's time to load up the bikes. pretty easy. Simply just make sure you loosen up your back strap. Otherwise you'll fight with it like I did here. So you loosen up the back strap there before you try to put your bike on. Take the front locking arm, extend it out, raise it up over the front wheel, cinch it down into place, get it nice and tight, and then you can go back and you can put your rear strap on. Unfortunately, my straps are too short, so I had to use something I call a dead worm. No idea what the hell it is, but it works for me, and I'll go over that later in this video. So the tilting to gain access to the back of your vehicle, it's a little bit annoying. The mechanism that you pull on in order to release it so it can tilt down is back behind the bikes. And in my case, my bikes weigh, they both come in at 100 pounds equal. 60 pounds for my Rad Rover e-bike and 40 pounds for my Mongoose Beast. So trying to hold all that weight so it doesn't all come slamming down and trying to access that release mechanism on the hitch itself is definitely a pain in the ass. They could have made that a little bit simpler. That's one of my biggest complaints about this rack, because that is a nice feature, especially when you have an SUV like I do. You know, you want to be able to lift up your hatch so you can actually put stuff back there. But it is a nice feature, like I said, because it does give me plenty of room to walk around, do things, not worry about scratching up the bikes. Just an overall convenient feature to have. And for reference, this is on a 2015 Ford Explorer. Now, tilting the rack up is another story. I actually have to use the trail dock. I have to lower that down a little bit to create a leverage point. You know, with both my bikes on there, it comes in at 100 pounds. That is a lot of weight to lift up. You're trying to reach this lever back here to release it. There's really just no easy way to get to it. That's why I think if they move this lever further to the back, it definitely make it a lot easier to lift up the whole assembly. As you can see, it's pretty awkward just to do in itself. So if you have two people, utilize that second person, because as you can see here, it's definitely a struggle. I'm sure with lighter bikes it might be easier, but if you have two fat tire bikes like I do, that weight definitely adds up. And here's the lever that I'm talking about. Like I said, it's pretty far in there. You know, it'd be nicer if they could, you know, bring it out here to the back or something. You know, if they could fit this. I don't know where they could exactly fit it. That's for their engineers to figure out. But it just makes it so hard just trying to reach this in order to lift up the back end here. So having a handle of some sort would be nice, but I use the trail dock. Unfortunately, that's the only option I have. So moving on to the straps here, this is probably the biggest letdown of the rack. I mean, this is absolutely pathetic that the straps are just too short. You know, you have to use this strap extender to make it work because you're off by a couple inches. You know, this is a 4-inch wide tire, and the fact that you have to use a strap extender when they advertise that this should work with a 4.8-inch fat tire bike, you shouldn't have to buy an extender for that type of setup. It's so stupid. But thankfully the extenders do work. Actually, as you can see here, it sits perfectly on my tire so it doesn't scratch the rim. I'm able to get it down low enough here, and that way it sits right up on the actual tire itself and not the rim. So I am glad that it does that. It does have a nice little curve to it to help accommodate that. But then you're left with this extra slack. Again, such a stupid design. All I have to do is add probably 5 inches to the existing strap to make it long enough, and they'd be able to accommodate the bikes that they say they can carry, which is up to a 4.8-inch fat tire. So removing the strap here, we're going to take a look and see what it looks like, and this is what you should buy if you find another strap that says it's compatible with this rack and it does not look like this strap, I highly advise you do not purchase it. The strap that you should buy should look identical to this one. This one works the way it should. It's got the ribs all the way through for a full adjustment. It does not have a bolt on the back end of the connector piece at the top, and it's nice soft rubber on the bottom, so it will not scratch your rim. And here's what the strap is, what it looks like that I purchased off Amazon. As you can see here, it's got the logo in the center right there. It's a dead spot. You know, there's no ribs for extra adjustability. Comes in a little packaging that looks like it's from Kuat, but it might not be. I don't think it is, or maybe this is an older model strap. But either way, this strap does not work. That dead spot in the middle does not allow for any adjustment. And on the back end of this strap, there is a bolt that sticks on the back there, and that will scratch up your wheels. So as you can see here in this video, I fast forwarded a little bit so it'd go through quicker, but I pretty much installed the strap to get the proper length that I needed with a little bit of excess on the bottom end for if I purchase a bike with a little bit bigger tires. And then I took the factory strap and I cut it off and took a Dremel tool to shorten it up. This way I can overlap the two straps together and zip tie them together, because otherwise the factory strap will just dangle there. It looks trashy, it gets in the way. Again, this is such a stupid design. I should not have to cut this, I should not have to adjust it, I should not have to do anything with it. It should just work from the factory as specified, but because it doesn't, a little modification here to make it work. So I installed some zip ties, so I just have 2 of them on there, and it keeps the strap extender connected with the factory strap, and because of that, it doesn't flop around and it doesn't look loose or taken apart. Downside though is it's a lot stiffer, which means it's a lot harder to manage, but it is what it is. We'll have to deal with it, and it works. And as you can see in this photo right here, if you don't zip tie them together, you have those 2 pieces that aren't joined together, and the factory strap just dangles around. And you can see how it can get in the way, it can flop around, and it just doesn't fit the whole clean look of the rack. So I highly advise that you zip tie those 2 pieces together. And here you can see with them zip tied together, it does look a little bit more factory. It's a lot cleaner looking, and you don't have that excess strap getting in the way. My other biggest complaint is this whole assembly is plastic. As you can see here, it is what it is. It's plastic. It doesn't, I'm sure it'll hold up for quite a while, but just the fact that it's plastic and not aluminum makes me think it's going to wear down fairly quickly. And I kind of wish that they would have put a little bit higher quality products in here, because the plastic does feel a little flimsy. And who knows if this is really going to work in the long term. If it gets brittle with UV exposure, or the cold weather, or just normal wear and tear from taking your bike on and off multiple times a week. So we'll have to do a durability review within about a year or so about this. So the trail dock's actually a really nice feature. I probably won't use it very often, but for some of you it actually might come in handy. It's built very well. I do like the style of it. It obviously matches the rest of the rack. Total height for me, it's right about 4 foot with the height of my rack with the hitch on my vehicle. It does have a nice spring-loaded mechanism in there to release the locking portion. Mine is a little sticky, but it does work. And of course here, loading the bike up, I chose the lighter bike of course, but putting the bike up there, obviously the more weight, the harder it is to do. You can see a little bit of flex in the trail dock, but I confirmed with Kuat that this trail dock is rated for up to 60 pounds, which goes in line with the platforms the bikes sit on. But like I said, I probably won't use it, but it does work. Another point that I want to touch on, if you have a Rad Rover or another bike that has a fender, you might see that the pivot arm here doesn't go as far back as it should. In my particular case, I can actually cut my fender because it's made out of cheap plastic, and I can cut it and round it off a little bit closer to the forks, and this will allow me to move this pivot arm closer. But overall, honestly, it feels very stable. It doesn't rock back and forth everywhere. I might just try it between the rubber on the pivot arm and obviously the rubber tire. There's a lot of friction there to keep everything in place. So really no worries on my end right there. And moving on to the bike lock. It's built into the rack system. This is one of my favorite features. It's another thing I don't have to worry about. It's plenty long enough. As you can see here, I looped it through my cargo basket or my cargo carrier, the frame and the wheel. Plenty of length there. I mean, I can't get any more length out of it, but it does fit. It does work. A couple access points to loop through. And just overall, a very, very solid design. The one thing I am worried about, though, is it has this little washer up here. Not exactly sure why that's exposed like that. And it might pop out. I hope it doesn't. It'll probably be a long time before it does, but otherwise, very, very solid setup. And last but not least is the accessory pack. Comes with 3 keys, bottle opener, hitch lock, and the nice thing about the keys is the key is key to the locks that are on the hitch rack. So one key unlocks both locks there and your hitch lock as well. So that's actually a really nice thing that they're all keyed together. And you also get this cap. If you decide not to use the trail dock system, you can simply take the trail dock system out and install this plastic cap in its place, and that'll keep out the dirt and grime from entering inside the channel here. So it's nice that they included that to give you an option if you don't want to use the trail dock or have no need. In my case, unfortunately, I have to use the trail dock as a lifting point. And you also get a nice little bag. I'm not sure what I do with it. Maybe use it as a beer koozie. Thanks for watching my video. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment in the comment box, and I'll answer your questions as soon as possible. Thanks a lot.